Greetings. Yes, today we're talking about E is for evil eye. Evil eye. We've all seen these, right? All seen these? It's been a while since I did D. And C, I'm really behind in the Pagan Challenge, the Pagan Facebook Pagan group for YouTube, for the YouTube community. The ABCs of Paganism. I'm really very behind. I apologize, but better late than never. I'm determined this year I'm going to do it all. I'm going to see it all before the year is up. So, but anyway, I'm just going to talk. I have a little short video for you today. I hope it's short because I really don't know a lot about evil eye. I do know something I do know. This is not an evil eye. This is an amulet. It is a Nazar. It's called a Nazar something amulet. It is to protect against the evil eye. It is to guard against the evil eye. The evil eye is actually a look coming from a person, which causes harm to someone or something. It's a kind of a curse, and it is transmitted through a malicious glare. Okay, these amulets are to protect against evil eye. Okay, but they're just called evil eye amulets. I mean, people call them that all the time. Now, I have seen these. You have seen me use these in the past. I have one hanging on my cupboard on my sun porch that I think you have seen hanging there. I have a spell on the door to the glass doors above my healing altar, and I have an evil eye amulet hanging there, not guarding against anybody giving in my cupboard a malicious glare. But to me, I use it for a couple things. It means a couple things to me. Any kind of malicious intent. And I think I explained to you why I have that spell on that cupboard. It's not so much that I think people are coming into my home and trying to cause me harm. These are friends of mine or whatever, or relatives that are in my home. They are not. But the glass doors, you can see clearly what's in that cupboard above the altar. And a lot of my books are in there and some other things. And I have a spell on that cupboard to keep people from getting in there who do not belong, getting in there without permission. Not that they would cause me any malicious intent, but any harm. But, you know, people, I have a few friends particularly who might get in there and look at my books and something and with intent to maybe, you know, say, oh, these books are nonsense, or, you know, they in an attempt to, you know what I'm saying, there's doubt or suspicion or whatever. They don't have the best of intentions. They're not, and they're trying to learn. They're in there trying to maybe cause some discord. So anyway, that's why I have that hanging there. I find it very appropriate because to most people who even do not know what this is, they are familiar enough with it to know that it usually means back off. Right? Back off. Okay? This usually says, you know, stop right where you are. In the same vein, I have one. I use it. You might have seen this before. This is my tip jar that I take with me when I do readings outside of my home. And I have one in the same reason hanging here on the side. I don't know if you can see that. Boy, this light seems to be causing a big glare. But I think you can see it. But anyway, for the same reason as I have it in on the sun porch on my healing altar. It's not so much that I'm trying to protect people from stealing my tip money or anything like that. It's just when I am out and about and doing my tarot particularly, I'm opening myself up to all kinds of things and energies, and any kind of protection that I can give myself as an empath, particularly any kind of protection that I can give myself, I will take advantage of when I'm outside of the house, particularly. So that's what happened on there. Anyway, enough of that talk. Why the evil eye? Why the eye? Well, I mean, now, okay, first I want to say I am not an expert on the evil eye, as I've already said. So I'm going to just give you a very quick overview of what I have found out about the evil eye. But I want to say to you, if it's something you're interested in, there is so much information available on the evil eye, because it is so, the belief in the evil eye is so common throughout the world and has been for thousands of years. This is not something from ancient Greece. This is something that people still today in all kinds of countries, in fact in most countries, other than the United States, we really don't embrace it. But there are people within the United States who do. But as a country, you know, it's not that common. As a people, as Americans, it's not that common that we, most of us embrace the belief in the evil eye. Okay. But anyway, the very fact, you know, that the eye is chosen is telling, because the eye, of course, is such a curious part of the body anyway, because it's believed already to have special powers. People call it the highway to the soul, and they're the gateway to the soul, or the pathway to the soul. And it is the whole concept of evil eye is something that happens to us as children. We started as children, even if it is not a part of our culture. I remember being in elementary school specifically, and yes, exactly in junior high school, absolutely, having experiences where I think somebody gave me, we used to call it a stink eye or a dirty look or whatever they give you, but anyway, the message is clear. When you are given a look, the message is clear. That you are either not wanted or you are not liked or whatever. It gives you kind of the creeps, right? It gives you the creeps. Walking into, you know, take yourself back to 7th grade when you were in the lunchroom and walking over, and maybe, oh, you see over in that table a friend that you met in, a new friend that you made in math class, and you're looking for a place to sit for lunch, so you take your lunch over hoping that you can share the table with that new friend, and somebody at that table, when you're walking up, when you're approaching the table, gives you a kind of a look that tells you, turn around, you're not welcome here. They say nothing, but they can, with their look, turn you in your tracks. We've all had that kind of experience. The thing that is curious, the most curious about the evil eye that I found out was that many people who believe in it believe also that you do not have to intentionally wish harm or ill will on somebody. It can come without your intention. If you have the ability or have the power or whatever to cast an evil eye, it can come without your intention of doing it. So there are very many things, preventions used by many people to make sure that they do not succumb to using evil eye. Okay, so they guard against, do whatever they can do to guard against feelings of jealousy or envy, because that is assumed that is where the militia comes from, malicious intent comes from, having envy or jealousy of a person. There's all kinds of really fun, I mean, if I could just spend an hour talking about all the fun, well, I don't mean to say it fun, but it is kind of fun to read some of the cures or the prevention that they use to either cure it or to reverse the effects of it, or to prevent it from happening to them at all, using all kinds of things. And these are people from, again, all over the world, all countries. It seems to be unavoidable, since there is not always intent when it is cast. So therefore, most people believe the best way to avoid being hexed by the evil eye is to just avoid it in the first place. And how do we avoid it in the first place? We avoid it by using amulets. Mostly by wearing amulets. Okay, or following one of these other things that people do. It is believed that a person who attracts success, has experienced great success, or someone who attracts a lot of attention, likewise will attract envy from people around them. And that envy is what turns into a curse. It manifests itself into a curse that will undo that person's great fortune or fame or whatever. So many, to guard against that, do things to diminish the importance of their power or their fame or their beauty, or of the people that they find dear who are most vulnerable. Who are most vulnerable? I mean, they most vulnerable perhaps would be babies, of course, children. I think a lot of people think children, youth, young people going through puberty, nursing mothers or pregnant mothers, the elderly, people at different stages of their lives, particular stages, are vulnerable for different reasons. And so those people need extra special protection. Now somebody like a child or a baby cannot protect themselves. So it's very common in many of these cultures for a mother to, if your child is exceptionally beautiful and she wants to guard against the child being the victim of an evil eye, that she will do things to the child, such as when they take them out in public, make sure that they have some dirt on their clothes or on their face or whatever, have their hair not maybe combed so well or whatever, so that they are not the target of envy or jealousy. Apparently, some people have such great potency in their ability to cast an evil eye and inflicting harm without having the desire maybe to do it, that they go to great lengths sometimes to avoid it happening. There's an ancient Polish folktale about some man whose gaze was so powerful that he cut out his own eyes rather than to spread misfortune on his loved ones. So the belief is very strong. And remember, whether you believe in it or not, people believe in it. I mean, whether it's real or not, people will believe in it. And if the belief is there, the power is there. The power, we know that all of the magic that we see, there has to be intention. There has to be belief in it. For it to work, right? So it's not so important if somebody has really have a hex put on them or an evil eye curse put on them. If they believe they have one put on them, the effect is going to be just the same. The outcome will be just the same. So having protection is really a cool thing. Okay. It is such a powerful phenomenon, if you want to call it. A lot of people believe that even animals possess the ability to cast an evil, projected evil eye. Particularly snakes, but not just snakes, a lot of other animals too. Cats, I believe. And as far as protection, there's about as many different kinds of protection as there are people who believe in it. So if you think that especially if you're from anybody who have a Greek ancestry or Polish ancestry or whatever, or a Hispanic, come from Hispanic families, or Middle Eastern, Turkish, or Indian. A lot of these families have very strong beliefs about them, and it'd be fun, if you find out, and ask maybe some of your older relatives, particularly, if they know of any such protections from the evil eye. That's very interesting. Who else would be vulnerable? Like we talked about the stages of life that people would be vulnerable from. How would they be vulnerable? How might it affect them, and why? Other than children, well, think about it. Nursing mothers, it's very common. If they are victims of the evil eye, then their milk would dry up. Also, just as somebody having milk cows or goats, their milk, they would dry up. Their milk would dry up. Or their fruit trees would not bear fruit, or their husbands would become impotent. There's just so many complications here with the evil eye. It's not just wishing somebody harm. It's wishing somebody ill or wishing somebody to lose something of value to them or whatever. So it's a very strong curse, right? Now, being witches, we're all about the protection. We're protection, and you know, I'm all about protection for me because I on top of being a witch, I'm an empath, and I am affected all the time, you know, by energies around me. I'm very vulnerable to a lot of energies, and so I'm very happily. The more I find out about evil eye, the more I'm, you know, I'm happy to protect myself from it. Why not? So what I have here, I'm wearing, you might notice on my wrist, I'm wearing a red string bracelet. It's a Kabbalah bracelet based on the Kabbalah tradition of wearing the red bracelet, which is of course based in a Jewish tradition. And I'm not Jewish, you know that I'm not Jewish, so it's not exactly the same for me as it would be for somebody who follows the Kabbalah, follows the Kabbalah. But I was interested in it because it's a kind of cord magic, and you know I'm very interested in cord magic. So I have a little clip in here. I'll show you. I made one of these bracelets today for myself, and I made one for my husband as well. And I have a little clip I'll insert here to show you how I did it very simply. It's not nothing fancy, and there's not one way to make a bracelet to protect yourself against evil eye. It is, though, traditionally, they're all red. They're always red. And knotted. The knots are very important. And I'll show you how he did it. And then I'm gonna put the clip in here, and then I'll come back in a minute and I will show you talking about how the bracelet is actually used. Okay, so here I go. I'll clip right here. Okay, I'm going to show you how to just make a real simple version of a red Kabbalah bracelet, like the one I'm wearing here. I'm going to be tying real simple knots to create my bracelet. You don't have to do that. There doesn't have to be any knots in it at all. Some people use a little evil eye charm, which you can get those just about anywhere. I think even at the craft stores. You can do anything you want. You can put anything you want on it, but the importance is it has to be tied with intent, and it has to be red. Red is the most important thing. Red. It must be red. And this is something I just happen to have on hand. I have this, all different weights of this cotton cording. We use this a lot. I use it a lot for weaving, like winkle weaving, but this is really, I think, bought this way, I think it's called crochet cotton or something, crochet thread. But you can buy this at Joann's or Michael's or Hobby Lobby probably. The importance is, if you're going to use something like this, I would go with the heaviest you can get. If you're going to be making something like I'm wearing. And this is 3/2 weight. It doesn't really say in the core. I'm looking inside the core. But it'll say in the package. Usually at like someplace like the craft stores, you can only get 3/2, or it says 3 on it, 3/2 I think, or I think 10/2, which is much thinner. Maybe you can get 5/2. I'm not sure. It goes from the lower the number, the thicker the thread. But at any rate, just get what you can, get what you like. Anyway, again, the only thing it has to be is red. You need, for this bracelet, you need the thread. You need a pair of scissors to cut it. And in my case, I'm using a big safety pin secured onto my tablecloth here on my table. Some people use like a clipboard, and they'll secure the end of their cord in the clipboard, in the clip, so it doesn't move. So anything you can do, you can get somebody to hold it for all that matter. It doesn't matter. Okay, but I'm going to show you how I do it. And again, this is just simple knots. I'm going to first take out, I'm going to be making this one for my husband. He has a 7.5 inch wrist, so I'm going to be aiming to make it about 8 inches long to fit around. You want it to fit, you don't want it to be snug on the wrist, but you don't want it to come over, you don't want it to come off the hand. It should not fall off the hand. It should not slide. It should stay on there. When you put it on, it should stay on until you deliberately take it off. By cutting it off, I guess. So I'm going to measure out, just for the purpose of about getting the size I want, I'm going to measure out 36 inches. I know about 36 inches is a yard. And I measure, you won't be able to see it, but I measure at 1 yard from my tip of my nose to when a hand arm stretched out. That's a yard for me, for most people. So I'm going to do that just to get my initial length. So I'm going to have my arm stretched out, finger on nose. That gives me 36 inches. And then I'm going to double that over so that I have a double length, and I'll cut that. I know this is hard to see. I'm just trying to show you how to make the knot. That's the only reason I'm doing this, in case you're interested. Because I had to learn how to do this. I watched a video on YouTube. You can see videos on YouTube, but the one I watched wasn't even really in English, so it was hard to understand. So I'm just going to do that again. I'm going to just use my string that I have to get another one exactly the same length. And then I will cut that. And so I end up, put that aside, I end up with 2 strings that are doubled over. You see that? They're doubled over. I wonder if I put this down, you can see. That's probably too dark. I don't know. What can I do? Maybe a piece of paper. Wait a minute. Here's a plain piece of paper. Ah, now we're cooking. Now you can see it, right? Okay, so all I have are 2 strings, and you see it's just doubled over. 2 strings that are doubled. You see that? To give me the length. This length doubled over is about 36 inches. That's just an estimate, okay? Then I'm going to come down here. My hands are kind of in the way. I'm going to down here just a couple inches, and I'm going to tie a knot. And that's where my knotting will begin. And this is the length that I'm going to tie. When I'm all done, I'm going to tie it. So I want to leave a little bit of room to tie. And then I just take my loops and my big safety pin, and I'm going to secure that on the table so that when I pull on it, you see it stays secure. Okay? Now, let me turn this. Maybe if I turn the paper, you'll be able to see. Can you see that? Perhaps. Okay, now this is a very, very simple knot, but it's easy. I know this from, I do a lot of weaving and a lot of, things with string, a lot of knitting and a lot of those kind of things. So I want to tell you, here I just divided it, 2 strings on either side. You see that? 1, 2. 2 strings on either side. 2 strings off to the left, 2 strings off to the right. Okay? And from here on in, I have to really keep track of which is one and which, where, if I'm doing the left string, tying the left string or tying the right string. So this is what I want to talk to you about. Anytime I make anything with weaving or with a lot of patterns, knitting patterns or whatever, you have to be really careful. You have to keep track. And especially when you're doing the same movements over and over again, it's really easy, especially if your mind wanders at all. You'll forget where you are. I don't know. I think that's really common with most people. So we do little tricks. We have little tricks that we do just to keep ourselves straight which way we're going. Okay? So what I'm going to do for this is, when we're tying the knot, the string that we're tying, remember, we're going to call this the left and the right. Left and the right, because it's my left and my right. And you're backwards, aren't you? I just noticed you're backwards. This looks like This looks like the right to you, and this looks like the left to you. Isn't that interesting? Anyway, this tells me is my left. But it doesn't matter. This one, when I say left, it's this one is down. So this one is down. And then this one is going to get tied around this one. Or this one I hold down, and this string ties around this one. That's the secret, okay? It's not a secret, but that's how you tie the knot. Okay. So first I'm going to hold. I always begin the same way every time I do anything, and I always begin left over right, but for you it's going to be right over left from your angle. But, and I'm going to hold the left one down, left string down, and I'm going to take the right string, and I'm going to take it first over, took it over, and then I'm going to come back, and I'm going to go under that string and through the loop. So that I'm making a loop. Do you see that loop? And remember, holding this down, I'm going to just hold this and slide it right up to that knot as far as it'll go. Okay, now you can't see it yet. You'll see it as we go further. Then I'm going to take the right one and put it down. And I'm going to take the left string over. It goes over this string, and then it comes underneath it through the loop. Again, making that loop. Holding this taut and sliding the loop down as far as it goes. Then the left string goes down, and I hold it down, and I do the right. Okay. Over the center string, under, so that it makes that loop, and then that is going to get, I slide that down to the knot. Then that right one goes down, and I loop this one over, under, through the loop, and then slide that knot down. Then that goes down. You see how I'm just doing this, repeating the same really simple action, and I'm deliberately doing it quickly so I can't get mixed up, because this one's down. So this one, when I slide it, I immediately put it down, pick up the other one. So I can stop for a minute if I want to. As long as this stays down, I'm not going to get mixed up. I'm going to take this one, take it over the center, and then under, through the loop. See that? And slide it not down. Put it down. Take this one over, under, and through the loop. Slide it down. Then put it down. Take this string over and back under that same center string. See how it loops? Slide it down, okay? And I just keep doing this over and over again, sliding the string, sliding, making sure that knot goes the whole way down, making sure this is held tight, because if you don't hold it tight, it's going to be a little sloppy. It's not that neat looking anyway, but it's going to be a little sloppy. But you have to make sure that knot goes the whole way down. Okay, now you see how easy this is going to get, how easy this is to get mixed up if you don't keep them separate, completely separate. Now what I also do, the other trick I do is in case I ever have to stop. Like let's say I want to stop now. I'm at the place where this left, the one in my left hand is going to go down. I always stop with the left one, start with the left one down. That's just, it's just something I do. You pick whichever one. And again, I apologize because this is on your right, but this is in my left hand. So I would always start. So if I had to stop, walk away, come back, I'm ready to begin fresh, I start with this left one held down. That's just a little thing that I made. I made that up. You can do it any way you want, but it's so that you always do the same, then you're not going to get mixed up. Okay? Right one down, hold it tight. So I would never stop here. When we do weaving, sometimes we have patterns. Things have to go in patterns of 4. You go left, you go forward and back, you know, when you're turning your petals, or you're turning your threads away from you or towards you or whatever. And you have to be sure that you do the same thing all the time, or you get very mixed up as to where you are. So the same kind of thing with this. These simple things, especially something that is easy enough that you can talk while you're doing it, that's a real easy way to get mixed up. But if I deliberately pull that down and hold that tight, see, I know this one's the only one free to make the knot. I'm holding that, when I hold this one down tight, this is the only one free to make the knot. And it always goes over, under, and through the loop. I hope this is making sense. Okay. And maybe it's getting long enough that you can see, I'm not sure. I don't necessarily have to show you the whole thing. I'll probably just cut right here in the film and come back in and show you when I get down to the end what I'm going to do. Okay, and again, you can make any kind of a bracelet you want. Remember that all that is important is that it is red. So I will cut here and ready. I'm just going to stop here because to cut, to show you, I'm ready to do left, this one down next. Remember when I stop, it's always that. And you can see we're starting to get a little bit of a twist. I don't know if you can see that or not. A little bit of a twist. Sort of like I have on my hand. Okay? So I'm going to cut here. And then I will be, when I get back, we're going to be closer to the end. And I'll try to show you how we do it. How we finish it up. Okay? Okay, I'm going to measure my, you see I've gotten pretty far. Remember I said that my husband's wrist measure 7.5 inches, so I'm going to try to make 8 inches for his bracelet, measuring from the knot. I'm about 7.5, so I'm going to go a little more. Remember, I'm always starting with the left one down, tight, so I'm going to continue. Getting pretty close to the end of my string. I just estimated pretty closely, didn't I, how long I needed. So, gets much easier once you get to the end. Goes much faster. You don't have so much thread to push through. I think I'll try to do. Just keep measuring. I don't want it too long. I'll stop there because the next would be to put my left down. I want to see how long I am. I think I'm about there. I'm there, right? 8 inches from the knot to the knot. Yeah, 8 inches to the knot to the knot. Okay. So, I'm going to just stop there. You know, I'm going to do 2 more knots because my husband is not used to wearing bracelets, so he might like it a little looser. So I'm going to do 1, 2. I think these will stretch. I used to wear all kinds of bracelets like this when my kids were little. They used to make bracelets for us to wear. There we go. That's 8. If it's not even a stretch, that's 8. He'll like that. Okay. So now all that's left is to get my husband in here, and I'll show you how we tie it. So I'll be right back. Just made a sigil on my husband's wrist here with some oil for some extra protection, and I released the cord from the pin, and I'm just going to simply tie it around his wrist, and I'm going to tie it. Am I backwards?
I don't know how you're
Yeah,
doing.
I'm backwards. I want to tie the left over the right. Okay, I'm going to tie. Just hold on to the short one, and I'm going to tie 7 knots to hold it on here. It has to be 7 knots. That's important too. Only 2 rules. Red has to be red, and you need to knot it 7 times. And then
And wear it on the left.
huh?
And wear it on the left.
And where not? Yes, very good. Thank you. And where this is his receiving hand. He's right-handed, so this is his. Even though on this camera it looks like that's your right hand, it's backwards for some reason. This is, trust me, his left hand. There's his wedding ring. It's on his left hand. Okay, so I'm going to tie it 7 times, and then we're going to say some protection for it, which we'll do privately. But here we go. So I just hold on to that short piece, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. This is why we had to leave this piece at the end. 5. I have to remember 2 more. Oops, that was 5. You have to have nimble fingers or leave enough thread. 6, and 1 more. 7. Okay, there's this nice knot. See how that makes a nice little chain of a knot down coming down there? And then I'm going to cut the end so he doesn't have too much. Okay, and then we're going to say just a protection over him, which I will cut out of this, okay, because it's private. Okay, there he goes, and there he's going to wear his pretty little red bracelet and try to explain to his piano students why he's wearing it. Okay, okay, thank you, Joe. Okay, I hope you could see that well enough to see what I was doing. I tried to, my lighting was not really that good in here, but again, it was just a very simple bracelet. You can do any kind, but remember, just to sum up, the belief is that a person possessing of an evil eye carries with him jealousy and envy, which is destructive and can cause injury or harm to others. Okay, so in the Kabbalah tradition, they use the red string based on their matriarch, Rachel. If you remember, if you were ever any kind of religious upbringing, you might remember Rachel from the Old Testament, who was the wife of Jacob, and who was barren for many years, and then finally gave birth to several sons, and eventually died and was buried. And the red string, the tradition is the red string is wound around the tomb, and it is endowed with mystical powers. It is then cut off the tomb into pieces and worn on the left wrist. Remember, the left hand is considered by the Kabbalah to be the receiving side for the body and the soul. And I think witches, we do that too. We have our receiving hand, we have our dominant hand. We receive and we cast, we, descend with our dominant hand. So we wear them on our left. I wear it on my left. If you're left-handed, you would wear yours on the right. Okay. By wearing the left, the string on the left wrist, it gives you a connection to the protective energy surrounding, in the Kabbalah tradition, surrounding the tomb of Rachel. In any tradition, I would say that it gives you a connection, receiving powers of protection, energies of protection, which is what it's all about. Okay. The bracelet allows us to take the protective energy with us when we go, so that we can draw it from anywhere we are. Okay, that's why when you go out, it's a way of carrying that protection with you. It's much easier than carrying this with you. Maybe not, but it kind of is, right? This is a little obvious. Not so obvious. Okay. Now, how we did it, and I showed you in the video, but I just want to say again one more time, that when we were tying it on, it didn't matter how we made the string, how we made the cord. It doesn't have to have the knots in it or whatever. You know me, I'm very into the knot magic, so that's why I did it this way. But you don't have to have that. It has to be red. It doesn't have to be, but I hate to say it has to be, but in this tradition, it is red. And that's important. And it's important when you tie it, you have somebody who loves you tie it on you. You don't tie it on yourself. And, in the Kabbalah tradition, there is a special prayer that they finish by saying, preventing other persons to give the person wearing the bracelet the evil eye. But since I'm not Jewish and I'm not from that tradition, I did not use that prayer. But what we did was we spoke our own intention. We spoke, I tied the knot onto my husband 7 times. And he did the same with me. He tied it onto me 7 times, knotted it 7 times. And then, of course, before we did that, we added some protection, my also intention, on our wrist underneath where the bracelet would go at the same time. That was just our way of doing it. You can do it anyway. That's not that important. But anyway, the point is, you know, you take something, we take something that's not our intention. I'm not a Kabbalist. So it would be silly for me to use a prayer, that kind of a prayer, in my practice. It wouldn't mean anything to me. But my own words are my own power. My words are my power. Okay, right? So whatever I say, my prayer that I say over my husband's wrist, his prayer that he says over mine, or his spell or his intention, whatever you want to call it, that he says over my wrist, is what works for us. So you take the magic and you make it your own. We say that all the time, over and over, right? That's what we say. So, excuse me. I hope this was something interesting. I'm sure many of you probably already know it a little better than I do. More about it than I do, because it might, like I say, come in your family. You might have it. And if that's the case, I'd love you to share. You know, some of you might be tempted to criticize my words because I might be misspeaking what you have to say about it. But I'm just going by my own research. And of course, I'm going by my own practice. Remember, this is for my personal use, my husband's use and my use. I just thought that maybe you would be happy to share it too. Okay, so that was all. Anyway, I'll try to get letter F up as soon as I can. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this. And thank you very much for watching. Thank you for coming to my channel always. I'm Rebecca, and I wish you blessings.